What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is the Librarians, Season 3, Episode 9, and the Fatal Separation. So first of all, I need to apologize for last week because I made a mistake, and I called Jenkins Lancelot. I was wrong. I had to look it up because they were calling him Galahad in this one. I'm like, wait, so he's not Lancelot. So where did I hear Lancelot? And totally forgot in the first season the bad guy, Duloc, was actually Lancelot. And there was a lot of questions about, as I'm looking it up, apparently he's the illegitimate son, Jenkins is, of Lancelot, according to, I don't know if that's according to Arthur legend or if they mentioned that somewhere in the show, but anyway, yeah, completely disregard anything I said in the last video, last review of the last episode. It wasn't Lancelot, he wasn't talking about Arthur's wife, um, Guinevere, which I just remembered. He was actually, when he was talking about the love of his life, he was actually talking about Charlene, which I thought was a nice little tidbit to throw in there. You know, you do wonder. Obviously, I didn't because I thought I had it all figured out. But if you had known that he wasn't Lancelot, and you have to wonder, well, who's he actually talking about? So the fact that we find out it was Charlene, it's kind of interesting. You know, I'm curious to find out how that whole relationship sprang up, and honestly, if they did a spin-off series with Jenkins at the library and Charlene as a younger Charlene as the guardian, I think that would be very interesting to see what exactly that was like. But yeah, both of them immortal. I could see it. You know, it was very a sweet moment at the end when he just wanted her to not go. He wanted her to stay. And of course that led to another sad moment where we see Flynn is just like voice breaking. He can't take this. He can't handle the fact that she's leaving. And honestly, that's kind of what I like most about this episode is the fact that they're touching on the fact that death is real. You know, that's one of the things I feel like the first two seasons didn't capture very well. They didn't really capture the weight or the seriousness of death. And that was, you know, something that is a big deal, obviously. But and that's going back to the first season. That's why I like that one episode so much with the haunted house and with Cassandra talking to the girl that was haunting the house, talking to her about death and how she stares death in the face every day with her tumor growing. I liked it so much, and it was my favorite episode of the season because they actually dealt with death in some seriousness, and the rest of the season hadn't been serious at all. So that's why I think this season has been so much better, is because it's added so much more weight to the show. Like, even with all the goofiness, even with all the slow-mo, all of that stuff, it's still so much more serious in its tone, and that it feels final. You know, when Charlene decides she's done, it feels final. She's passing on to the afterlife. She's not coming back. You know, it would take a magical spell to bring her back, and they don't use magic. So it feels final. And when Flynn's talking about sacrificing himself, and he and Jenkins are looking at this room with the candles that represent the librarians, and once a candle goes out, that's it. And he's looking at his candle, and it's almost completely burnt out. You know, like it's melted to little stub. At first I thought they were going to make some joke like, he doesn't mean anything to the library at all. But when they showed the melted candle, like a lot of people may look at that and be like, oh, well, look at that. That's a pitiful candle. It's even smaller than Ezekiel's. It's melted. It's because he's been doing so much on his own that he's actually burnt himself out. And that was the literal representation of it right there. And I really think it's setting up, you know, at first I wondered if they were going to set up, oh, he's going to die, he's going to kill himself, he's going to sacrifice himself, and then by the end of it, somebody else was going to take his place. But I think that representation, that visual representation right there, just shows it has to be him. He's been doing this for so long. He's been just really harming himself physically by trying to do it by himself for so long that, yeah, I can totally understand why it's going to be him at the end of the season. Couple other things to talk about though that were really good in this episode. One, I finally got something that I've wanted since the first season, and that is to see Christian Kane kick some ass. If you have not seen Leverage yet, if it's still on Netflix, go check it out. If not, find some other way to watch it because it's a really fun show. But Christian Kane plays a character on there who just he can beat anybody up. He kicks a lot of ass. It's amazing to watch. And so watching the show, it really feels like, I've seen him do this before. I've seen him pull off great fights before. And so it felt like the show didn't know how to do good fights. This episode has some good fight scenes. I mean, when he's fighting the Master at the beginning and I'm seeing him do all the cool stuff, do the flips, do the kicks, the punches, all of that, and I'm like, thank you! Finally a good fight scene. I haven't seen that in this show, I don't think ever. I can't remember one good fight scene. So seeing all that was awesome. It was just really cool to see Christian Kane finally get to do what I want to see him do. And then on top of that, the story for all of it, I feel like is really building up for the final episode. First of all, last episode we have everything with Cassandra. She finally has the tumor removed and all of a sudden she's super powerful. Her gift is now exponentially grown. And I like the fact that they deal with that at the beginning. She says, at first she's like, oh no, everything's fine. I'm like, seriously? You lied to them about the tumor. You're going to lie to them about this too? But she says, no, I'm not fine. And then starts talking to Eve, and it's just like, it's grown. I can't control it anymore. It's affecting other people. And we see in this episode, same thing she did in the last episode, she figures out a solution and somehow sends the solution to Ezekiel's head. I really want to know how she does that, because it's really freaking cool. But, it's interesting to see that her gift is, she's like on, and all of a sudden it just explodes, and everything, all this information, and it's so much more than what it used to be. It used to be just this, and then it's right there, and she's solving the problem right here. Now it's just on, and boom, and it explodes, and it's amazing, and the visuals are awesome. So yeah, that's really cool. And then on top of that, in this episode, we see Jacob first of all, he's getting training from this guy, the Monkey King in Shangri-La. And so we see he's training him, and he says, look, I can't train you anymore unless you want to learn magic. He's like, no magic. And he's like, okay, well then, that's it then. The rest of it is just stuff you teach yourself, because if you're not willing to learn magic. So I kind of figured that wasn't the end of it, but these guys show up, try to steal the staff, and then it's up to the librarians to stop them. And so at the end of all of this, we see Jacob is fighting the Master, and then he has a chance where he realizes that the last option for him is to do the death grip, or whatever it's called. And he puts his hand up under his chin like that, and it's like one more ounce of pressure and he's dead. And so he does that, and it feels like a moment of he might actually do it, like he might have no choice but to kill him. But instead, he's like, I can't do it, I can't kill you, and then knocks him out. And then Flynn gets him the staff, he gives the staff to the Master, and so sun sets, and now the Master's back to being the Master of Shangri-La. So, yeah, I think that's a really good ending, but then on top of that, the Master commends him, and it's just like, you spared my life, and you saved my soul by, helping. I can't remember what the words he used are. But he said something about, he saved his soul by using his soul, or something along those lines. And so he imparted a gift upon him. Some, mysterious letters floated off the staff and went on to Jacob's arm, and, of course, kind of funny, the reaction. What? Magic? No! Get it off! Get it off! What do you think it is? A bug? Swat it away, stop. But apparently this is going to somehow, he said it's a way to light the darkness when it's at the most dark. Something like that. I feel like this is going to come into play next episode. So, we've got Cassandra and her power is now grown. We've got Jacob now with some sort of power. Ezekiel, he's still a good thief. I mean, he was funny in this episode, but ultimately, when you look at the other two, when you look at Cassandra and you look at Jacob, and then, of course, Eve and Flynn's story as well, Ezekiel seems to be the only one, once again. I feel like his story has just been kind of gypped this season. Of course, we had the really good emotional one where he got to talk to the girl who had the love potion and all that, and we got a bit deeper meaning on him. But as far as his story goes, as far as his growth, we've seen so much with Cassandra, Jacob, Eve, and Flynn, and even Jenkins. I want to see more with Ezekiel. So the fact that he hasn't really gotten some sort of special enhancement or gift or something, I don't know. I feel like his character is sort of receiving the back end of everything. Like, it's just Ezekiel. Let him do his own thing. And I hate that because he could be a very complex character, but it feels like they're keeping him so simple. But minor issue that I have, it's just my preference. I prefer to see more of Ezekiel growing as a character. And then, of course, the big one, as if all of this stuff with Cassandra and Jacob wasn't big enough, we have Eve getting kidnapped by these guys, and you're just like, okay, wait, so they wanted Eve? Like, they're trading Eve for the staff, and why? All of a sudden, they're on this train, and in walks the Dosa lady, and we find out that apparently this lady was in charge of Eve when she was working for NATO. And we find out that apparently she sent Eve to this mission where she first met Flynn because she wanted her to infiltrate the library. Now, a couple things. One, great twist. I mean, the whole time, this entire 3 seasons have been built off of this one lady sending Eve in to infiltrate the library. And so, yeah, obviously we've seen that Eve, that wasn't her intention for getting there. She didn't know that that was the plan. But this lady wants to use her for that because she thinks that Eve will trust her, even though we've seen Eve has trusted the library well for a long time. You know, I can't imagine that Eve is actually going to turn on the library. I feel like they're probably going to do one of those, she pretends to turn on the library, but we don't know that at first. And so she's like betraying everybody, but by the end she's like, nope, it was all a trick so I could lure you in and now we capture you. I feel like that's the route they're going to go. Maybe not. Maybe there's some sort of like memory thing planted in Eve to where the lady spoke some sort of like, I don't know, maybe she used some sort of hypnosis and convinced Eve to do it without her knowing. I don't know. Maybe not. It's just some theories I'm throwing out. But the second thing is, what if this is all according to Dosa's plan? You know, like we want to believe that Eve is not going to turn on the library, but what if there is something going on that we don't know about? What if at the beginning, you know, Eve was sent in with a mission that she doesn't remember because something happened that we didn't know about? You know, what if Flynn at the beginning did something that made her memory go away? I can't imagine that just because the one kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? It's like the blockade that I can't get past as far as all of this goes. You know, the whole idea of Eve being against the library, of Eve working for this lady trying to get information on the library. The only thing that makes me think that's not true is because the library did invite her. You know, like, it wasn't like, oh, she just showed up and then she's in and that's it. No, the library did send her a letter, I'm pretty sure. Unless it didn't. I can't remember now. I feel like I gotta go back and watch the first season to make sure I'm not forgetting anything. But, I mean, it still is a really good twist. The fact that we learn this was all according to this Dosa lady's plan. Like, she wanted Eve to make it into the library so that she could use her to get information. Now, like I said, probably not going to end up where Eve is helping her or anything along those lines, but it still does set up for kind of an interesting, what is Eve going to do now? You know, is she going to use this as an opportunity to show the Dosa lady that the library can be trusted, or is she going to use it as a chance to sort of take out Dosa? You know, like lure them into a false sense of security and then trap them to where they can't cause any more harm. I don't know. I'm curious to see what they're going to do with this. Obviously, at the end, they tried to make it seem like, oh no, like she just saw Charlene's candle go out and she smiled. What does this mean? And then the creepy music was playing in the background. I don't know if that means anything, but I'm really looking forward to the final episode. I mean, it's just been a really, really, really good season, and I imagine based off of everything that I've seen this season, you know, based off the story, based off the visuals, based off the acting, all of it. You know, the first 2 seasons, it felt like all of the middle episodes were just kind of filler. You know, like, it's just, the first episode was pretty good setup. Second episode really got things going, it got the story going. And then it was like, okay, filler. Halfway through the season, something interesting happens to further the main plot. filler, filler, filler. Final episode's really good. Well, last season, kind of a cheesy ending, but it was still a good episode up until that point. This one has been good beginning, great second episode, good, couple greats in there somewhere. I'm looking forward to this final episode. I feel like it's gotta be at least really good. It can't. I really don't know if it could possibly disappoint at this point. Maybe it could if they decide to go way too cheesy with the ending. If they decide that nobody dies, Flynn's okay, Eve's okay, the team's okay, Jenkins is okay. If all of them are still alive after next episode, unless there's some really, really good reason why. It has to be explained to me. It has to be like they've been building this up from the very first episode. That's the only way I'd be okay with this. But as far as all this build up, I'd say that it pretty much has to be somebody needs to sacrifice himself in the next episode, or else I'm just gonna be like, it was okay. That's still a problem for me. I don't want a happy-go-lucky ending, because you don't always get happy endings in life. Even in fairy tales, sometimes there aren't happy endings. There are tragedies. So, yeah, I feel like I've talked about this enough. So, looking forward to next week. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What did you like and dislike about this episode? Let me know. We can talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Librarians reviews, and I'll see you at the next one. Peace out.